Okay, so basically it's 2 a.m. and I've been deep diving on Moses for a long time. And I just made a connection that made a lot of things link up in my mind. So I'm going to talk about Moses. And the thing that I learned is Moses' original name, I believe, and a lot of people now believe, was Tutmos. What does Tutmos mean? This is the revelation. Tutmos means the son of Thoth. So Moses from the Bible was the son of Thoth from Egypt. We know that Thoth from Egypt was Hermes, Mercury, Odin, all of these names. So you mean to tell me that the guy that started our Bible for the most part as is its current form was a son of Odin? That's interesting. Here's the other should have been learning about Moses is I think it's highly likely that the story of Oedipus and the story of Moses are one in the same. Basically, the game Telephone. I think the Greeks heard about Moses through the grapevine, and that became the story of Oedipus. So, like, I think there might be different sides to the story as to exactly what occurred. I'm not saying like don't trust the Jews or whatever, but like everything that has ever happened has multiple sides, and the truth is somewhere in between. From what I'm gathering, if you take people at their word, Abraham left Sumer because he fucking hated it. A whole bunch of reasons, all the reasons you'd ever leave someplace. He left there with his herdsmen, and their goat herds and cattle herds and whatever, and their tents. And basically, they were like the Amish. Yeah. But they were just wandering now. And they went and, the Bedu people were out there already. They kind of went with them, or they became them. Maybe they were the first ones of that. Who knows? In any case, for one reason or another, they end up in Canaan. They like it there or whatever, but then there's famine in the land. Okay, well, that's about the same time as I understand it as the whole Bronze Age collapse. So there was a lot going on in the world at that time. So they all go to Egypt because Egypt has food and everybody's going to Egypt. I think it's not that the Jews were slaves in Egypt. It's that the reason Egypt was feeding people was because they were doing the whole, hey, if you don't work, you don't eat thing. And they were getting shit done. And maybe this is how they got some of their mega structures and shit. I don't know. Combined with magic and maybe alien shit, because we can get into that. I don't know. This is some crazy shit. The whole, everything of this is crazy, but like the alien shit is the craziest shit because I don't know if Moses is related to Akhenaten by blood or not. If you believe Oedipus and the Bible, he was adopted and Jewish, maybe. I don't really know. It's hard to fucking tell because, like, I believe to some extent the people that left Egypt were the descendants of Abraham. That's for damn sure. Whether Moses was one of them or not, I don't know. My thing is he had some sort of in with them, and here's my theory. Akhenaten was Moses' brother, and he started monotheism, the worship of the Aten, whatever that is. And I think it's funny that the Egyptians didn't like this Aten thing, didn't like serving it, whatever. And they basically rebelled against Akhenaten, right? So, what if the thing that has happened or whatever is that Tutmos Moses had died or been murdered by Akhenaten, and Akhenaten took his place leading the Israelites as Moses with the Aten. That's why they stayed monotheistic. That's why they were able to do all of the shit that they did. So whatever the Aten is, it's what was in the Ark of the Covenant, I'm pretty sure. Like, uh, Akhenaten's son was Tutankhamun. In his tomb is a thing that looks just like the Ark of the Covenant, but it has a fucking dog on it. My guess is that that box held the Aten. I don't know what the Aten is, but apparently it flies and does a great many things. Kind of sounds a lot like the stories over the years of magic carpets, or like in Norse mythology, there was like a ship that you could fit in your pocket. You know, shit like that. I think that might be what's in there. Some sort of alien craft with various capabilities that, for whatever reason, needs certain things. I don't know exactly what it needs, but it needs something to continue on, and it is willing to, you know, it's like the car in Rick and Morty. I will suck you off for batteries or whatever. Rick's garage. That's what it is. Rick's garage. When Rick is like in Birdman's brain or whatever, and it thinks it's gonna die, it's like soliciting men walking down the street to bring her batteries or some shit, saying that it'll like suck them off or fucking, you know, build them technology, or like offering all sorts of shit just to continue existing. I think that's somewhat what's going on here. That's just my guess. That's just based on the nature of the stories. Like, if you take a lot of what the Bible says as more or less what happened, but with key details missing, which I think is mostly what's going on there, by the way. It's like Elijah fucking going up against Baal's priests and shit. I'd be pretty confident of winning too if I had someone working the controls of a spaceship and whatever behind me. I think that's pretty much what was going on. I think a lot of wizards over the years, or these priests in the Bible, the judges, I think, whatever this thing is was with them somehow. Maybe cloaked, following above, and could do various things, but basically it's like, I've been saying the Barca rides with me, whatever, from The Wind and the Lion. That's like a thing in Arabic myth that's like some mix of luck and God is with you. Like, God wills you to exist, so therefore you will exist, kind of thing. I think it's one of those kind of things. Like, if this thing is with you, it's with you for whatever reason. Anyway, The story of Oedipus and Moses are one and the same, according to many people, including Freud was one of the first ones to suggest this, because of the whole abandoning of the baby thing at the beginning. There's a lot of similarities, and it's interesting that Oedipus goes this whole route of, killing your dad and fucking your mom thing. I don't know exactly what happened there, but some jiggery pokery went on in the Egyptian royal household. Somebody was fucking somebody's mom and somebody's dad got killed. And I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that was Moses, but like the fact that the Greeks think that about that story, if this is, 100% true, which if you were to ask me, is Oedipus the story of Moses? I would say yes. I think it's very interesting that he has a conversation with the Sphinx. You can go, look into the story of Oedipus, but he like plays a game of riddles with the Sphinx and wins. And I think that might be the Aten. Maybe it was a guardian of that shit there from whenever that was. I don't think the pyramids and the Sphinx are from ancient Egypt. I think they're from fucking Atlantis or some shit, like 12,000 years ago. That's a whole different story. But like, there's a bunch of other shit in Egypt that I think could have been built by this giant slave army that they had. Like, it's very clear the Bronze Age collapse that they put out the word that, hey, we have food in Egypt, and you don't do that without motivations. I think Egypt enslaved most of the planet. I also think it's interesting that Moses is the whole son of Odin thing. Like, Thor is a son of Odin. It's kind of a big deal. Makes you wonder about, was there one family of super powerful people at one point that, like, somewhere in the Bronze Age, it sounds like, or before, pretty much divvied up the world amongst their kids after some sort of horrible thing happened? I think it's funny is we're talking now about having a nuclear war like it hasn't happened before. I could prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt it has. It's because of all the nuclear glass that's in the Middle East. We've done this dance before. I really don't think the nukes that went off at Hiroshima and Nagasaki were the first ones even built by humans. Like, you could have some debates about the nuclear glass in the desert being from an alien attack. Okay, I'll give you that. There are aliens in the universe. Maybe they came here. Maybe they did some shit. Maybe they nuked some shit. That's a plausible explanation for that. However, an equally plausible explanation is the fact that we've been fully modern thinking humans for a long goddamn time. And in fact, there's been several species of us that have come and gone. It's not unreasonable to think that some of these big stone structures that we attribute to, Aztecs, Mayans, Egyptians, whatever, maybe those are the last trace remnants of some of these ancient civilizations that people found, thought they were cool in the Stone Age, moved in and started building their shit on top of it. Look at what people do now. Like, look at Egypt now. People are digging in their damn basements and finding tombs and shit. Like, the number one archaeological crime in Egypt now is people digging in their own house. It's no shit. I put it to you that it's not that you shouldn't believe in God or whatever, shouldn't believe in religion, but like if you believe, I believe what my pastor says about the Bible, well, it's more complicated than that, bitch. Because Moses was a son of Odin. Like, amongst many other things that we could talk about that change my entire view of religion. Like, we could talk about the ant people and the Anunnaki and the Myrmidons again. But if you really want to get into like why you should question your religion, um, the Hopi and Navajo and shit say that they were saved from the floods by the ant people, and the word in their language for ant people is Anunnaki. In ancient Sumerian, Anunnaki is what they called the alien gods. So Anunnaki means ant people, and Hopi and shit like that. Navajo. The thing that I think is interesting is Achilles, Myrmidons. Myrmidons means ant people. That was the name of Achilles' soldiers or whatever. And Achilles was an odd duck too. He's one of those that, like, if you're going to peg an alien, it's one. Said he was invulnerable to harm. The thing that I found interesting is that when they came to get Achilles to go to war, he was hiding in a whorehouse as a woman. That doesn't sound like anyone I know. So that was funny. Apparently was doing a very convincing job of it too. Fooled everyone but Odysseus, who was the cleverest of the Greeks. Wonder how Odysseus found out. Just saying, like, there's a lot of shit in this ancient myth that has to do with transgenderism. And I think a lot of what we're seeing now is electronics have given a rebirth to the Greek gods somehow. It's a lot of what I see in our culture. Maybe it's just the cults that naturally form. Could be. Because, like, that's a thing. Like, a lot of these ancient cults are things that they just happen and we attribute it to a god. That's just my opinion. Like, there's Dionysus and Ninkasi that are like the beer gods. You know, they have drunken bacchanals in the woods with lots of fucking and naked women. That shit just kind of happens. That's my theory. I have other theories, like the whole, witches and cults to ball and sacrificing babies thing. I think inevitably there's people that get pregnant that don't want babies, and they end up fucking like killing their kids in the woods, and like this attracts demons and shit, and eventually, like, they get some ceremony going. I think that's a lot of what that was too. Not to mention the fact that, like, Roman whorehouses, the wells were full of aborted fetuses. That's just sick to me on various levels. Cat? Other fucking cat's high too. we smoked a joint earlier and started watching Ancient Aliens about Tutmos, and then they said that fucking Tutmos was son of Thoth, and I was like, holy shit! Now it all makes sense because like a lot of what happened in the Bible makes a lot more sense if you interpret it through the lens of that's Thor or somebody like that, and they have some sort of ship from the elves or dwarves, and like the elves in Norse mythology, I don't know who the fuck the elves are. Like the dwarves, I've already said are Asians. I think that's very likely. I think they're encountering them somewhere in between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea and the rest of Asia. Like they were encountering them there and trading for shit. And that's how they knew them. As far as like the elves go, I don't have a good answer for that. The only answers I can think of really are aliens or interdimensional shit. And like, you really want to get out there. A thing that has existed for a really long time are the druids and all of that shit with their little stone circles and portals to places and whatever. And what if there are elves and they are really like summoning them or something out there in the fucking woods with their stone circles? And back when this was a big, big thing, people also believed in Odin and shit. Like those two things go together real well. So maybe the elves are some sort of interdimensional thing. But if that's the case, then like you have to look at ancient Egyptian mythology like it's a different version of this same shit now, right? There's all sorts of crazy shit in that. And like not that we need to explain everything, because like there's cat fucking my cat is high as shit, being a weirdo. Anyway, not that you need to explain every little detail of the differences in these religions, but some of the big differences I think are different sides of the story. Okay, when these people split up over the generations, that's how you get these different civilizations and shit. I think eventually someone does an Abraham. They get pissed off and tired, and they take a big group of people and they leave. And if you take a big enough group of people with enough animals and on boats or across land, if it's a land route, like you camp slowly or whatever as you go, and you have enough people with you that like you can hunt effectively, especially back in the Bronze Age. It would be like when we first got to America, it's just full of game. Between that and you're herding animals and gathering and then maybe planting crops whenever you get to wherever it is you're going, you can that's as good of a shot as you're ever going to have it. Okay, and that's the nature of not living in a civilization, right? Which now it's basically impossible not to do to some extent. Like I'm trying to do it here, but I'm, wanting to buy some land and just start building my own thing and basically have trips into town. I think that's a lot better than fucking living in the middle of this shit. I don't know. But I think in reality, that's how you get the Norse even was it was a group of these people that split off. And like it's pretty clear that the Norse got on boats in Egypt, I'm guessing, and sailed to fucking Norway. Like, I think there were several groups of these type of people that got on fucking boats and just sailed out the fucking Straits of Gibraltar and ended up in Ireland and fucking Norway and England and places like that. Ireland, especially, was settled by a group of people from the Middle East. I think that's where all the redheads and shit. I think there was some like family or maybe group of families that had this trait come up or something, and like they were hated to the point that they left the Middle East a long time ago. I'm talking like 5000 BC or some shit, maybe even before that. They've been in Ireland a long time, and they came from the Middle East. And the reason that I say that is looking at their mythology is different from the other European mythologies, and it's different in ways that point to where it came from being ancient Egypty, ancient Middle Eastern, somewhere in the same region that like Moses and the Bible came from and shit. And it's got mixes of other shit into it or whatever, but like the proto religions that led to Judaism are very much the proto religions that are present in that Celtic bullshit in Ireland. I think that's fascinating. Also, it seems that there was some intermixing between the Norse and the Irish people. The reason I say that is they have their own version of Norse gods that are blended in with this proto Judaism shit that they got going on, as Lu and all of his descendants. And I'm wondering if that's not like if Lu could not be Loki from Norse mythology. He eventually just left. Maybe took his wife and a bunch of kids or something, left, went to Ireland, found these people, and fucking, set up shop there. And everyone remembers him as being a great king or whatever because he had magical powers, because he had, leftover shit from wars or whatever, wherever Odin got his fucking tech. Makes you wonder about, in Norse mythology, who is Moses and Akhenaten? Is that a character that we know in Norse mythology? This is what I'm going to try to find out next. Is if Moses is a son of Odin, which son of Odin is he? Is he Loki? He could be. That would make a lot of sense, actually. we are we are Lokis. All the Christians are Lokis because their whole religion was founded by Loki. I like that. I like that a lot. I think the Lu thing is a lot more likely for that, though. He's not Thor. I don't know if Odin had any other sons. That's what I need to look into. Honestly, the Loki thing really makes me laugh. Because, like, if you look at if Moses was tricking people with some sort of piece of technology, that's very Loki-ish. You can only have one God and no other gods before him, and that God is talking to me and me alone. That sounds like a real familiar game to me. Like, this sounds like something I would do. Sounds like something I'm doing. I don't know if I really talk to God or not, but like I've been screaming at the universe, and some of the things I've been screaming at the universe have been coming true. And I've been wanting to start a church based on suing the government over our gun rights for a while. So now it's just like, you know, as God wills it, man. Yahweh, whatever, church stuff. I don't care. Like, that's my thing with religion is like, honestly. I care about it more than most people by quite a bit, but like the stuff that I think about it is like heresy, apparently. So that's why I have so many guns and a sword and like, you know, put out a pirate radio message to you weirdos that might consider the fact that Moses actually is the son of Odin. What if Moses is Loki? And what if our whole religion is a lie? Maybe that's a little thing you should know, I think. And if that is true, what do you now think of the afterlife? Everything I've ever believed about the afterlife is like some Norse mythology shit mixed with like some Tibetan Buddhist shit mixed with like, I don't know, reincarnation, I guess. Which I guess a lot of those kind of go together, but like, I don't know what to think. I've heard things that I believe to be true. Like, I really think that if you die gloriously in battle, probably end up reincarnated better. I believe some sort of something in the universe likes that for whatever reason. Call it the god of war, call it Odin, call it Yahweh, whatever. Somebody likes you because you have balls. That's what I choose to believe. And like maybe that's because I'm me and like it's almost inevitable that I'm probably going to die being shot in some horrible way while trying to knife or sword somebody to death. I accept that. It's one of those like, yeah. Like, you don't bring a sword to a gunfight expecting to win that one. You bring the sword to the gunfight hoping that there's one other fucker in that group that you're fighting that also brought a sword. So that way you can challenge him to a sword fight in the middle of everyone's gunfight. Because sometimes, like, the only way to kill another wizard is with wizard shit. Or, in this case, sword fighting. Because who else is gonna, like, sword fight that dude? You can't kill him with a gun. He's like, that's too cool of a thing. He has a sword. This is my point. Like, I can sell this to a group of dudes on a battlefield, and I'm not the only one. And this is in short why there's going to be people fighting with swords in the 21st century. I believe Hollywood will be to blame for this. I think there's going to be a lot of pistol duels and sword fights. There's a lot of this like romanticism for the past that you can see in, oh god, just the video games the youth play. People have gotten bored with modern weapons, thinking, oh well, in war it would be different. Oh, very long. Like, once you've become the White Death and have 800 kills or whatever, like maybe you want some sword kills. That's all I'm saying. Have some fun with it. We're going to war against China. Like, I bought a black powder revolver and a saber. You know, I'm not planning on using those as like my go-to weapons, but I figure if you're carrying a 1911, they make a good second gun and weapon thing. I don't know, like a pair of pistols and a sword is just like that's cool to me. That's half of why I have my helmet rigged up with fucking lights and shit. It's like I don't know what weapons I'm going to be using. Some of my weapons have lights on them, some of them do not. But I like having a fucking surefire light mounted on the side of my head in case I need it. That helmet's really fucking cool. I did a helmet pad upgrade on it, and I don't know if that was worth that, but it's cool now. I bought a chin strap for a Mitch on eBay for $10 too. It's on its way. I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna get the other chin strap off of that thing. Like, I don't know if the Mitch strap is really the right call, but like, I don't really care for the strap that's on there. It's kind of loosey goosey all the time. I also like how my camo pattern kind of looks like a Mitchell pattern from Vietnam on that helmet, which isn't even intentional. That just happened. I just kind of started painting and it ended up looking that way. It's pretty dope. Like, I'm enjoying customizing my shit. I think Moses is Loki. The more I think about it, the more like the stories of the Norse gods, at least I think, and the stories of the Egyptian god. Well, that can't be true, can it? Because if Thoth was Odin, I don't know. Some weird shit to think about. Let's try to track down who was who and what was what. Maybe Son of Thoth is the wrong interpretation of that name. What if that's like Thoth incarnate? As in, like, Jesus is the Son of God. You know, what if it was that thing going on? Would be an interesting route to think about it. If that's the case, then what if it's like Odin and Moses were brothers? I'm gonna really look more into Norse mythology and see Odin's family and Odin's sons and brothers. See if there's anyone that could be Moses. Because I think obviously Odin was Thoth, or at least like Moses was Thoth. You know, pretending to be, or was seen to be the embodiment of something like that. Religion is weird, and if you start studying multiple religions, it gets weirder, and it's hard to tell what is misremembered facts or whatever, or something like different sides of the same story, and what is just made up bullshit. There's a lot of made up bullshit. If you want to see a cool version of this story, I like the movie The Gods of Egypt. It's like a ridiculous fucking movie, but I think it might actually be somewhat close to the way things actually were at some point in Egypt. Like, there are people that literally turn into giant flying falcon like angel things with hawk heads. That just happens. Like, some of the stories from the Bible and ancient Egypt and Norse mythology if they're to be believed, that shit was happening somewhat regularly or something like it. It's hard to pick out what was, you know, metaphor or something and what's fact in those stories. But I'll leave you on that thought. Moses, son of Odin. I cut this one off. I'm just rambling now. See you guys later.